The Imitation Game was nominated for 8 Academy Awards today, including Best Picture, Best Actor, and Best Director. Pimm spoke with the film's director, Morten Tyldum, on his experience telling the untold story of Alan Turing.
I think it's impossible to not be amazed and outraged when you hear the story about Alan Turing. I mean, I always loved history. I thought I knew history really well. And I was shocked about how little I knew about Alan Turing. I mean, why wasn't this man on the front cover of my history book when I was in school? I mean, his achievements are so staggering. Alan Turing, when he was 23 years old, he theorized the computer. 1936. I mean, he was so ahead of his time. And when he was 27, he joined MI6 at Bletchley Park and led a team that cracked the Nazi Enigma code, which meant they had access to Nazi Germany's communication. And, I mean, Winston Churchill has said that he did the single most important achievement during the Second World War. Because of him and the work that this group did, the war was shortened by years. And I think up to 14 million lives were saved because of him.
Now, you mentioned that he never really received the credit. As you described, you said, how come he wasn't on the cover of the history books that you grew up with in Norway, right?
They all kept it secret. It's one of the best kept secret in the history of intelligence. Several decades went on. I mean, it was like 40, 50 years before people actually knew the important work they did. So he's sort of like been erased from history a little bit and sort of like pushed into the shadow of history. This man who did so much, which we own so much to. I mean, I think he's one of the big thinkers, one of the big geniuses of the last century.
One of the most recent headlines having to do with Hollywood has to do with hacking, Sony, privacy, the confidentiality of information. Based on your understanding of Alan Turing, what do you think he would feel about this cyber security, but also the issue of privacy?
He was a man who carried around secrets his whole life.
So, he understood their value.
Oh, completely. I mean, this is also, remember, not only him, but the whole group who was at Bletchley Park. Nobody talked. And today's age, it's mind-blowing to think about that this group who broke Enigma, who did this incredible achievement for the war, nobody talked. Nobody talked for decades about what I did. It was a government-held secret, and in this age when there's no secrets that last more than 20 minutes, it's pretty mind-blowing to think about.
Just as you describe, it's different from today. Has the revelation that our communication, particularly the communication, let's say at Sony, is up for grabs, that almost anyone can have access to it, has that changed the way that you interact with your friends, your family, your professional colleagues?
It really makes you think what you're going to put out there. And it's kind of frightening that I mean, the privacy is there's no real sense of security anymore and or safety. So I think it is, and I think what happened, and not only that, but you also have to look at what it will do for art, what it will do for movies in the future. I mean, if
self-censorship
is that's what everybody's afraid of now. Are we going to be afraid that this movie will offend somebody who will then use cyber attack and hacking as a mean to later blackmail the movie for not being shown? Will they now start to stop studios and production companies to think, okay, maybe we should not make this movie because later on some will be offended and they might do, threaten us. So hopefully it doesn't come to this, because it's the whole essence of art is that it should provoke somebody. Somebody should be provoked at somebody, or at least made thinking, and so that is the scary part of what happened, that the Sony attack, hopefully it will not make studios and production companies more reluctant to finance and start production that may offend somebody in the future.
Tell us about the commercial success of the movie and how that's, in a sense, been a surprise, maybe to some people.
It's been a huge commercial success, which I'm really glad about. It means that more people are you know.
I mean, there are no superheroes in it. There's no flaming dragons.
It's these nerdy mathematicians who are breaking codes impossible. But it's a fascinating story, and I think the injustice that happened to him is easy to relate to. And also, it's a thrilling movie. It's a spy thriller. It's a war movie. It's also a love story.
Like you.
And people are really responding to it. And as a filmmaker, it's been phenomenal.
All right, now we'd like to get to know Morten Tyldum just a little bit more, a little better.
Okay.
So I would like to know, what is your favorite movie?
I can tell you what my favorite movie experience was, and that was watching Star Wars when I was a kid. You can sit there in the dark and be taken somewhere you never knew you could be taken.
Are there any, let's say, ex-Hollywood or international film stars that you wish that you could have had a chance to work with?
I would love to do a movie with Marilyn Monroe, isn't it? That would be interesting to see.
If Morten Tyldum could not be a movie director, what would you like to do?
I would either be an architect and build houses, or I would make video games.